Urban legends are just that, right? Legends. They're stories people tell to keep the darkness at bay. But every legend has a beginning, something real. In Willow Creek, Indiana, one legend begins on Halloween night in 1989, when 10-year-old Danny Foster vanished without a trace. Some say he was taken by something inhuman. Others think he wandered too far into the wrong place at the wrong time. But if you ask the people of Willow Creek, they'll tell you this: Danny's disappearance was no accident. Before I tell you the rest, ask yourself, do you really want to know what's hiding in the shadows of a forgotten town? If so, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story is one you'll never forget. A quiet town with a dark past. In 1989, Willow Creek was the quintessential small town, the kind of place where everyone knew your name, your business, and your secrets. But for all its charm, Willow Creek was haunted by an unspoken fear, a fear tied to the Holloway house. The house sat on the edge of town, its broken windows and sagging roof hidden behind a canopy of dead trees. Locals avoided it, weaving tales of ghosts and disappearances. Some said it was cursed, others called it a tomb. For Danny Foster, Emma Wallace, and Jake Larson, it was a curiosity, a backdrop for the stories they shared as they walked Willow Creek's streets, pillowcases in hand, collecting candy on Halloween night. Danny Foster, 10 years old, was the kind of kid who loved the thrill of a good scare. That Halloween, he wore a vampire costume, complete with plastic fangs and a bright red cape. Emma Wallace, also 10, was pragmatic and fiercely protective of her friends. She dressed as a fairy, her glittering wings catching the dim glow of the streetlights. Jake Larson, their friend, and the group's comedian, wore a werewolf mask that kept slipping off his face. As they made their way through the neighborhood, the subject of the Holloway house naturally came up. "I heard it's haunted by a family that vanished," Danny said, eyes wide with excitement. "It's not haunted," Emma replied with a huff. "It's just an old house." "Bet you won't go near it," Jake teased. Danny smirked, the thrill of the dare lighting up his face. "Maybe I will." It was just another Halloween night. Until it wasn't. The vanishing. Around 8:45 p.m., the trio reached the corner of Maplewood and Birch. Danny, eager to beat the other kids to the best candy, ran ahead toward the next house. Emma and Jake lagged behind, joking and laughing. When they reached the house, Danny was gone. At first, they assumed he was hiding. "Come on, Danny, quit messing around," Emma called, her voice echoing into the night. But the longer they searched, the more the silence pressed in on them. The laughter of other kids on the street felt distant, muffled. Emma grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to get help." They sprinted back to Danny's house, where his parents were handing out candy on the porch. Within minutes, neighbors and police officers were combing the streets, flashlights piercing the darkness. The Holloway house. By midnight, the search party expanded to the woods near the Holloway house. The mansion loomed in the distance, its silhouette casting jagged shadows under the pale moonlight. A local teenager named Mark Riley came forward with a chilling account. "I was walking past the Holloway house earlier tonight," he said. "I swear, I saw Danny standing by the gate. He wasn't alone. There was someone with him." When pressed for details, Mark shook his head. "It was tall, too tall, and his face, I don't think it had one." Despite the eerie claims, police entered the house. Inside, they found no trace of Danny, only graffiti-covered walls, a rotting staircase, and an unnatural cold that seeped into their bones. Legends and whispers. The Holloway house had been a source of fear in Willow Creek for decades. In 1943, the Holloway family, parents Edward and Lillian and their 2 children, vanished without a trace. Their belongings were left untouched, and the only clue was a single word carved into the floorboards of the dining room: keep. Since then, locals whispered of strange occurrences, lights flickering in the windows, even though the house had no power. Whispers carried on the wind, calling people's names. Shadowy figures seen moving through the yard at dusk. Some believed the house was alive, feeding on those who ventured too close. The Polaroid. 3 days after Danny's disappearance, his parents received a package in the mail. Inside was a single Polaroid photograph. In the photo, Danny stood in the middle of the Holloway house's living room. His face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. Behind him loomed a shadowy figure, its shape vaguely human, but its features blurred and unnatural. The timestamp on the photo read 3:33 a.m., hours after Danny disappeared. The package had no return address. Despite the chilling evidence, police were unable to trace its origin. Some dismissed it as a cruel prank, but others believed it was a warning. Aftermath. Danny Foster was never found. His disappearance left a permanent scar on Willow Creek. Emma and Jake struggled with guilt, replaying that night over and over in their minds. As they grew older, both moved away, unable to bear the memories that haunted their hometown. The Holloway house remained standing, its legend growing with each passing year. On Halloween, kids dared each other to approach its gates. Some claimed to hear whispers. Others swore they saw shadows moving behind the broken windows. So what do you think? Was Danny taken by something inhuman? Or was it just a tragic accident? And what about the Polaroid? Proof of the paranormal? Or something far more sinister? One thing's for sure. Willow Creek will never forget Halloween night in 1989. If you enjoyed this story and want more haunting tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And if you've experienced something you can't explain, share it in the comments. Who knows? Your story might just be next.